I'd like to take this opportunity to recap some of the highlights of 2017, look ahead at some of the exciting plans that we have for 2018, and also reflect on more recent accomplishments, which include, first, our first EBITDA positive quarter in the history of the company, which we announced this morning. Two, it includes the successful launch of a major redesign of our flagship app, and we're going to go into a lot of detail about this. And three, just last week, news that we once again became a first mover on a new platform by introducing and producing the first ever fantasy sports game for Facebook's instant games on Facebook Messenger. That game has been out 5 days, 4 days, 5 days, and is already showing incredible numbers with more than 1 million. I think I checked this morning, it's almost 1.3 million players in less than a week trying out this game. So we've had amazing traction. Congratulations to our team in getting this launched. So now, back to the score. And the theme of 2017 was very much about reinforcing our position as a true leader in digital sports, while assuring that we lived up to our mantra, to our commitment of empowering the sports fans' experience. This really is at the core, which runs right through the heart of our company. And what we're really talking about is giving fans the freedom to follow sports the way they want to follow sports. We give them the tools, and they create the experience. And I just want to, aside for a moment, because this is not something we just came up with when we got into the digital business or when we started launching the app. This is something that's really been at the core of who we are and what we are, even in the old television days. And as most of you know, we ran the theScore television network, we sold it to Rogers. But in developing that television network and creating that network, it was the same respect for the user, the end user, which in that case was the viewer, which is sort of, I think, led to the success of that television product and as well through the creation of our app. It's always about thinking about them, not us. What do they want? How do you surprise and delight them? I mean, we had a simple analog/digital TV network, one way. We introduced stuff like court surfing, and we didn't choose what games were going to go on the air. We let them choose. When we had on-air hosts, they weren't the stiffs that you see on the other sports network in shirt and ties. These were guys that you would go to, the guys and girls that you could go to the bar with, talk about sports. It was all about being part of the engagement. And I honestly think that that's been a lot of our success in creating the theScore brand, which is transferred over from where we were to where we are today. And this was really certainly top of mind when we went and began the hard work in executing the biggest redesign in the company history and relaunching our theScore app. Of course, this was going to be redesigned and launched on both iOS and Android. And the thought process in developing what we wanted to do was we wanted to go even deeper in our coverage, particularly deeper in our team coverage. We also wanted to make sure, even though people loved our app in the past, that we continued to upgrade and had a new, sleek user interface. And most importantly, we wanted to be able to accommodate a dynamically enhanced multimedia approach to presenting sports. We had already started to experience over the course of the last year our ability to move our content and extend our brand and extend the score by other platforms into homes and into mobile devices and into any device that happened to be people using. And last quarter and this quarter, once again, our brand now reaches on over 30 million people off platform, as well as what we do on the app itself. And one of the most important things we did in the redevelopment of our new app was to try to gain consistency on how we approached what we were presenting off app as well as in app. And that was difficult to do with the way the app was in the past. Now, don't get me wrong, people love our app. When we made these changes, and we've been working on this for a year, one of the things that we were very sensitive to was in introducing the new features in the app, but not pissing off, quite frankly, the hardcore users who really loved the app and wanted it for certain uses. So it was really necessary to do a complete revamp of the app. And one of the sections that's become popular that we introduced that allowed us to surface this new content was our Discover section. And in our Discover section, it really wouldn't have fit into the old app the way it was presented, but in the new presentation of our new app, it was perfectly designed. And what that allowed us to do is to introduce new types of content and popular topics like, for example, social content, like high-end sports apparel, like there's a section called Swag Watch or something. And then a nostalgia pieces like Turn Back the Clock. And these are features that people are continuously following now and enhancing their engagement. And we also use Discover to also surface other stuff that we've done in the past, but in a more efficient way, like multimedia game recaps. All the stuff we're pulling in from Instagram, we're allowed to feed trending posts from Instagram, and as well as compilations of great plays like you see from Messi, and hopefully not like tonight you'll see from LeBron. So in addition to that, we also reworked some of the existing sections. Our app has been known because you get to choose your league, you get to choose your team. So we revamped the whole favorite section. And what we did is, because we knew we were introducing all sorts of other content, we created this section not just to give box scores and raw data, but allowed us to have this full multimedia approach on the teams and leagues that you've chosen. So if you're following the Raptors, or if you're following the Leafs, or if you're following the Cavs, you go into that stream of content and everything is delivered to you at sort of one touch. Now for our hardcore guys, we actually left in the whole league section. So if all you want to do is go hit the league, hit the team, see how they're doing, and get that content the way you did it in the past, that was also available for you. So we knew we were going to take a lot of crap from our hardcore users, but we also had the confidence, because of all the testing, that once we introduced the new approach to introducing sports content and how it's being consumed, people were going to love it. And that's how it tested. But until you get out into the real world, you never know. And that's what we did in September. So we were really excited to know, how is this really going to work? I mean, we test up our yin-yang, but until you actually get it out there and hear the feedback and see how people are using it, you don't know. And we are betting a lot on this because this is our core service, and this is where a lot of our growth is going to come from. As we reported this morning in Q1, the early results have been very encouraging. I got to tell you, though, it is a tale of two cities, okay? Our two major platforms are iOS and Android. On iOS, which is a majority of the users are on iOS, over the first 3 months or our quarter, we've seen growth of the app like we haven't seen in years. Now, we don't report on a month-by-month basis. We report on a quarterly basis. But even in the first quarter, we have 6% growth year over year of our app users on iOS. And the feedback has been, once you got through the initial, why the hell did you touch my app? Once we got through all that, has been very, very positive. In the same quarter, however, on Android, the theScore users are down 11%. And this is the first time we've ever broken this out, but it's not something we have been following for the better part of a year. And this experience that we've had, while iOS might have been flat during the last year, Android has been suffering. And it's not something that's unique to us. And we've continued to be the second most popular app in North America. And even though some of the losses that are occurring are as a result of, we think, the Android situation, the Android challenges, everybody's experiencing that. So it's not something that's unique to us. The overall effect is that in Q1 we had 4.3 million versus 4.4 million users, pretty well flat, just down a little bit. But the other statistic that we look at very carefully is our engagement, and the average monthly user sessions in Q1 were still above 100. We're above 100, I think 103, and last year was about 102. That means on average, our people are coming to our app over 100 times a month. That's engagement that other apps would kill for. So we're still, we're in very good shape with respect to that. So what does this mean? Well, in terms of go forward, we're seeing good growth momentum, obviously, on iOS, and that gives us really positive momentum to build through continuing experimentation, through enhancements and future developments. and also by maintaining our speed in delivering updates at a cadence of every 2 weeks, which sounds easy, but it's not. We are actually making updates and upgrades on a bi-weekly basis. On Android, we still believe that the right combination of product and growth initiatives will enable us to tackle this platform-specific challenge head-on by improving both acquisition and retention tactics. And we have some pretty exciting approaches to how we're going to go after this. So obviously, as you can gather, theScore itself is still our flagship app and remains at the heart of everything we do. However, this year we have continued to take theScore beyond our app, with the goal of expanding our audience and strengthening our brand awareness with all sports fans all over the world. theScore is a global brand, and every time we move into new platforms, we see that. We want to get our famous Score logo on as many devices as possible, as universally as possible. And to assist this, before I turn it over to Benjie, I just want to talk a little bit about this, which is a restructuring of our teams to make us more efficient and to allow us to move forward faster. So what we've done is we've reconfigured the product teams into 6 distinct areas this year, allowing for greater cross-company collaboration and to maximize the amazing deep well of talent that we have here at theScore, both from a content standpoint and from a engineering standpoint. These include the teams for sports, content, social and community, growth, eSports, and emerging platforms. And if I may just talk a little bit before I turn it over about the emerging platforms, it's there to help us identify and build on the platforms of the future, which will allow us to continue and get back on this growth curve that's essential for us, but also to allow us to be first movers in areas of high growth potential, including, which we've talked about, bots, which we've already introduced, Echo, the Amazon Echo, the voice assistant technology, which we're one of the first ones on as well, and also our move into mobile gaming with Facebook Messenger with the introduction of our fantasy game. So with that, I'd like to turn it over to Benjie, and he's going to go into some more detail on a lot of these platforms.
First 3 slides there.
Go ahead.
Thanks, John. As John was just talking about, to tap into the kind of growth potential that we're looking at theScore is really the focus of our new emerging platforms team. Their task is to identify the platforms where sports fans are going to be, not today, but tomorrow. And it's been a very busy quarter for them. As John talked about, we launched on Amazon Alexa and Google Home. Amazon Alexa and Google Home over the past couple of months on Alexa's packaging. Alexa's packaging in Canada. And just this past week, we launched the first ever fantasy sports game on Facebook Instant Games. And in the span of 5 days, had over 1.3 million people trying it out, which really is a testament to the social nature of the platform and why fantasy is really a perfect fit for Facebook Instant Games. Another area we see as having really great potential is eSports. Over the past year, as we've talked about, we've refocused our priorities from our app to our video production. Well, the app really remains the core for the hardcore eSports fan. What we want to do is broaden our appeal, and video is a great way for us to do that. In Q1 of fiscal 2018, total video views grew from 3.5 million last year to over 18 million this year, which is growth of more than 400%, and driven by really an intense focus by our team of producing stable, consistent franchises that we're outputting every week. And these franchises are now generating 6-figure viewership on average for each piece that we put out across YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and our website and app. A very strong foundation here. That growth is amazing. We think there's a lot more to go as we start to think about how we monetize that platform. And we have a video here to give you a little taste of what we've been working on.
The best Dota 2 teams travel from around the world, seeking to raise the coveted Aegis at the most prestigious competition in esports. Born on May 7th, 1996, and raised in Seoul, South Korea.
They did not even manage to force out the buyback.
That year, over 36 million unique viewers would tune in to watch a Faker-led SK Telecom T1 take home the trophy.
SKT will be your first ever two-time world champions!
I think that your work has done a lot in legitimizing something that not a lot of people think is legitimate in a big scene. So shout out to theScore eSports.
What in God's name is that from Snacks?
Fighting game is something so great.
So that's a little bit about what we're up to at eSports. Thank you to Chris and team for putting that together. It was really good. Social channels are one of the biggest ways we're growing our eSports audience. And it's also...
I'm sorry.
Yeah, next video in line.
We're kind of lucky.
Lucky that's all that was, James.
Here's what we do in this car when you're not watching.
Social's a huge part of how we're helping to grow our audience in esports, and it's also one of the key drivers for our core platforms as well. Not only do we reach more than 30 million people a month across our social channels on Facebook and Instagram, but we see amazing engagement rates. It's not just the number of people who see the post, but how are they interacting with it? And on Instagram, for example, we consistently outperform our peers at ESPN, Bleacher Report, House of Highlights, guys who have way more money to invest in this type of content than we do. Our users are much more engaged with our content than their users are with theirs. And that's really a testament to the strong content that our team is putting out day in, day out. And as I was saying, it's not just growing these channels, it's how do these channels convert to app users. And that's something that our dedicated growth team is working on day in, day out here. And we've already seen in the couple of months since we established the team in September, very strong results in terms of those conversions, generating thousands and thousands of new app users from being social users on our social and casual users on our social channels to more hardcore users in app. And ultimately, it's that two-pronged strategy of continuing to build the audience and the engagement of our flagship app while pursuing new experiences on new platforms that positions us extremely well for the future. And finally, just a comment on our flagship app. We've talked a lot about the redesign, but as we said at the time, it really is the beginning of our hard work. And in the past quarter, that's been evidenced. We've brought the new app to iPad. We've been among the first app developers to optimize for iPhone 10, added deeper stats for NHL and NBA, added a whole bunch of new features for our fans who like to bet, and also made it even easier for them to access the headlines they care about. Moving forward into Q2, no different in terms of how busy the roadmap is. We're getting ready to launch coverage for the Winter Olympics, and also working on a complete overhaul of our golf section, which is our most popular individual sports section in the app. And it's also very popular with our advertisers due to the affluent demographics. So we're very excited by some of the changes that we'll be rolling out there in the next quarter as well. And with that, I'll turn it over to Tom to chat about our financials.
Thanks, Benji. In Q1, we had revenue of $8.4 million, and that compared to $8.5 million in Q1 of last year. The change in revenue in the quarter was really driven by slightly lower U.S. direct sales in the U.S. And as we've discussed in the past, our U.S. direct sales tend to be bigger campaigns, but less frequent in scope, and they're complemented by what is a more consistent programmatic sales program. In Q1 2018, expenses declined to $7.8 million from $8.9 million in the previous year. The reduction was mainly driven by reduced personnel costs as well as lower marketing costs. Marketing costs are down year over year due to lower sponsorship costs in eSports space and a more strategic and cost-effective external discretionary spend as we focus our investment on our social content strategy as a way to build up the company brand. Headcount at November 30, 2017 was 189 full-time staff versus 215 a year ago. And that change in headcount is really related principally to our change in focus in our eSports group towards our video content. And moving forward, we believe we have the right mix of personnel for us to meet the goals for 2018. EBITDA in 2018 was $500,000 versus an EBITDA loss last year of $400,000. This is the first EBITDA positive quarter in the company's history, and it was in line with the commitment that we had made previously to make the company profitable. We finished the quarter with $7.4 million in the bank, and that cash use for the quarter was $2.7 million versus $3.9 million in the first quarter of last year. It's important to note that Q1 is traditionally our largest cash use quarter, as our big Q1 sales, essentially, especially in November, tend to be collected in Q2. And with that, I'll turn it back over to John.
Thanks, Tom. Okay, so obviously we are very pleased where we're at. We've got a big year ahead of us. I think we got a great foundation in place. Our new app is out. We got a bunch of new opportunities and ventures already launched. We got some others in the works that we're not even telling you about yet, and other opportunities that are out there that we're very excited about. So I want to thank everybody for coming. That really ends the formal part of our presentation.